The season begins 11 years after the events of the Wolves of War's flash forward. The secret of Supernatural's existing is now common knowledge due to how big the war with Monroe got. Scott McCall, now 31 years old, runs his own animal clinic in Los Angeles, California, having moved away from Beacon Hills after leaving college. We saw that he was living in LA in the Wolves of War's flash forward. He meets up with Deaton, who also moved out to LA to help with his clinic, for dinner that evening. The two begin to reminisce on their time in Beacon Hills dealing with the supernatural and how it made their bond stronger. Scott mentions how peaceful things have become since the war with Monroe came to an end, and how there hasn't been a supernatural threat in a long time. Deaton asks if he has any regrets about how things played out, and Scott reveals that as much as he wanted to spare Monroe, he knew deep down that she had to be taken out because she was too far gone. He further elaborates and mentions that after Gerard's death, she became 10 times worse. We get several flashbacks to various points and battles against Monroe, with allies being lost on both sides. Through these flashbacks, it is revealed that Isaac eventually joined the war too, after deciding to stay in France when Chris made the decision to go back to America to help against the fight with Kate and Peter during the events of season 4. We eventually see how the war came to an end when Monroe's forces started to turn on her for going too far, to the point where she started holding public executions. Scott and his packmates eventually corner Monroe in London, where she runs out of options and makes the decision to hold Alec, one of Scott's first recruits to his army, hostage. Scott, Lydia, and Malia beg for Monroe to let him go, but she executes Alec by shooting him in the head, and Scott, finally having enough of her reign of terror, decides that he has no other choice but to take her out. He rages out in a similar way to how he did in season 4 and almost transforms into a more beast-like form similar to Peter from season 1. Isaac, Malia, Jackson, Derek, and even Theo and Liam run over to try and hold him back, but he refuses to stop. Monroe stops moving, and he stands up with his claws drenched in her blood, turns around with his face looking like a hybrid between Peter and Deucalion's beast forms. He calms down and looks back at Monroe's mauled remains, stating that he didn't have a choice. The flashback ends, and Deaton tells Scott that he did what he thought was right, and that no one was going to stop Monroe's reign without taking her out of the picture. After the dinner, it's confirmed by Scott that when they went to search for Gerard, that Kate's body was found next to his after being poisoned with the yellow wolfsbane, confirming that she is also deceased. The two head their separate ways, and once he heads back to his apartment, Scott starts to fall towards the ground as he begins to see flashes of Allison and various memories with her in his mind. Confused on what just happened, he takes out his wallet and pulls out the photo of Allison from season 2 episode 3 when they went to the Beacon Hills ice skating rink, stares at the photo trying to make sense of everything as the episode comes to an end. During the same evening that ended the last episode, on the other side of the world in Japan, Liam Dunbar, who is around 30, is now running a ramen shop with his new girlfriend Hikari Zhang, a Kasai or Fire Kitsune. Isaac Leahy, still residing in France, now also married, calls Liam to check in on how he's doing and the status of the Triskelion urn. Liam confirms that it's safe in a secure location and that there is no need to worry. After getting off the phone, Hikari returns to the counter after helping out guests, and Liam tells her that Isaac called and was wondering if the Triskelion was safe. She heads to the back and sees that the Triskelion is safe, secure behind some other spices and powders. The rest of the events that took place during this portion of the Teen Wolf movie take place, and the hooded man attacks the ramen shop. Liam and Hikari fail to keep the Triskelion urn safe, and the Nogitsune is set free and sets his sight on Scott McCall for revenge. The same events of the movie play out the next morning. Scott and Deaton are called out to help the local fire department rescue civilians after an earthquake. Later that evening, the same events of the movie play out once again. Scott starts to see more visions of Allison, building upon what happened in the season premiere. Eventually, Scott finds that Chris snuck into the animal shelter and they reunite for the first time in years. The same events, once again, play out from the movie. Chris mentions that he sought out Scott because he also began seeing visions of Allison, feeling as though her soul was reaching out to him for help. The three discuss what the visions could possibly mean and all come to the same conclusion. Allison's soul must have never crossed into the afterlife somehow due to how she was killed. Back in season 3, episode 23, Scott takes out his phone and calls Isaac, still close with him after 15 years, asking if he's willing to come out of retirement to help with a possible serious problem. Isaac is hesitant at first, stating that he's left that life behind after the war with Monroe, living his best life with his wife, and only checking in on Liam and Hikari from time to time after passing off the urn to them. Scott tells him that Allison has been haunting not only him, but Chris as well in visions. Shocked after hearing Allison's name for the first time in a very long time, Isaac offers to help this one time and tells him that he'll catch the next flight to California as soon as he can. Scott, Chris, and Deaton decide that the best move to make is to head back to Beacon Hills, as they feel it has all the answers to their problems. The episode begins the next day with Lydia in San Francisco, now the director of a company that is responsible for turning sound into a form of green energy, notices after returning to her office that she also is having constant visions of Allison, even writing her name several times. She eventually hears from Argent and Scott that it was possible for her best friend to be trapped in Bardo, the realm between life and death. The same events as the movie play out, and Scott lets her know that Isaac is also on his way back to Beacon Hills in order to help, which makes her excited. Lydia calls Stiles, who just finished an investigation in Florida, and lets him know that the gang seems to be reuniting on a matter pertaining to Allison, which leaves him confused, but says that he can make his way over to California as soon as he can because he can let his boss know that it's a supernatural matter. During the war with Monroe, as it started to get bigger and bigger across the globe, the government has now become well aware of the existence of supernaturals and how they operate in the shadows of the mortal society. In Beacon Hills, the same events play out as the film. Eli Hale steals Stiles' Jeep and goes on a joyride, but is eventually noticed and caught by Jordan Parrish. Over in the preserve, Mason Hewitt, now a deputy, and Sheriff Stilinski are investigating a recent string of wildfires plaguing the area. Derek eventually arrives, now the owner of an auto shop and the local supernatural consultant, to give his perspective on the situation. He asks the sheriff to call in Stiles to help them, and he lets Derek know that Stiles is already on his way back. He found out earlier in the day after having a call with him. The same events play out from the movie. Eli is caught by Derek, Parrish, and Stilinski. Scott arrives back in town and immediately heads to the now destroyed, overgrown remains of the Oak Creek internment camp, unrecognizable from the place that they had their showdown against Voice-Stiles when trying to rescue Lydia 15 years prior. Lydia and Isaac also arrive not too long after, and the three of them have a heartfelt reunion. They gather the dirt from Allison's death grounds that they need and leave, heading to the old McCall house. Melissa lives there on her own. Chris, Isaac, Lydia, Scott, and even Jackson, who flew in the evening before after Scott reached out to him from London, leaving Ethan behind as he did not want to join. Jackson asks Lydia where Styles is, and she says that since he was the last to be informed, he's going to be a little late. The same events from the movie play out, and Lydia brought with her all the messages she had been writing over the last few days, but it's Jackson who figures out what the message is saying after putting 2 and 2 together, realizing that all the words they put together make out the design of the Nematon, with the word Bardo being written in the middle. The episode begins with Derek and Elijah at the new Hale House. The same events as the movie play out. Eli and Derek argue about him stealing the Jeep again. They talk about the past, and Derek asks Eli if his powers started to manifest yet. They get into an argument, and Derek reminds him of the agreement that he made with his mother, that if he moved to Beacon Hills to live with him, he would have to let Derek help control his werewolf side if he ever inherited the gene. Eli runs off after refusing to hear his father out, and Derek wonders how Jocelyn, Eli's mother, was able to raise him without all the arguing and constant fighting. Parrish meets up with Lydia at the auto shop before it opens and they have sex. Derek goes to apologize to Eli and sees that he snuck out of the house. Parrish and Malia chatted up after finishing their hookup, with him asking when they might finally give themselves the boyfriend-girlfriend label. Deaton and Argent get into an unusual tussle after Deaton finds Argent's recent actions since arriving back in town to be suspicious. Scott, Lydia, and Isaac all arrive at the preserve to meet up with Lydia, who is not excited to see Scott. We get a flashback to what caused them to break up. Malia didn't agree with the way Scott went about taking out Monroe, but Scott defended himself and pleaded his case, stating that he didn't have a choice. Malia, now seeing Scott in a different light, did not like the direction she thought he was going down and decided to end things with him, as he wasn't the same person in her eyes she fell in love with during the events of season 6. With this being the first time in years the two have seen each other, everyone greets each other, but Scott and Malia begin to make things awkward as Isaac tries to lighten the mood. Deaton and Argent continue their standoff, and the former realizes that Chris has been possessed by the Nogitsune, who he thought was still locked in the Triskelion, and frees him with some mountain ash. In the preserve, some time has passed, and they are still trying to remember where the Nematon is located since it's been so many years since they last visited the place. The group runs into Elijah, who is found by Scott. Scott, Lydia, and Isaac don't recognize him at first, but Lydia explains that he's Elijah, just a lot older obviously. Scott mentions that the last time he saw him was when he was 4 years old, back in 2015 in New York at the start of him recruiting for the larger war against Monroe. Malia asks why he's out there, and Eli says that he and Derek had a fight and that he didn't want to be in the house. Malia tells him to go back home, but he refuses, and Scott reluctantly tells him he can join them. Lydia finally remembers where the Nematon is after reluctantly using some of her inherent Banshee powers, and the group arrive, and the same events from the movie play out. The gang places all the totems needed to help Allison's spirit and Bardo move on and be freed. When nothing happens, they all assume that Allison's spirit has finally been able to move on, since Scott and Lydia can no longer feel the lingering presence they felt with the visions. As soon as they are about to leave, Scott notices something from behind, and everyone turns around to see a bunch of mystical blue energy forming around the Nematon. The energy eventually completely forms into a naked body, and somehow Allison has been resurrected and brought back to life in the exact same state she died. She's still 17 physically, but mentally she's 32, since the soul is not affected by time displacement. Scott and the others stare in awe as they cannot believe what they're witnessing. And that's gonna do it for the first 4 episodes of Teen Wolf Season 7. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you guys are a fan of this version of Season 7 and just how it's playing out so far, if you want to see part 2, which will be episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8, make sure you guys leave a like and also comment what your favorite part of this video was, and I'll try to see if I can improve the story because I haven't written the rest of the episodes yet. I only wrote the first 4. Yeah, but let me know what I can improve on for part 2, for episodes 5 through 8, and then obviously part 3 will be the finale of this What If, and it'll be episodes 9, 10, 11, and 12. And that will probably be out in September. Part 2 will be out in August. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed today's video, again, make sure you leave a like if you guys enjoyed what you heard here today. If you guys could leave a hype and hype this video, if you guys have hypes available, that'd be greatly appreciated too. If you aren't subscribed, if you're new, make sure you guys subscribe and hit that bell icon to set those notifications to all so that you never miss a future upload. Also, if you're already subscribed, make sure you're still subscribed because YouTube has a tendency to unsubscribe people if they haven't seen my stuff in a long time. So make sure you check on that. And yeah, that's it for this video. It was a really fun video to make. I really enjoyed writing the script and sort of changing some stuff from the movie around that I thought could have been improved on, because I think that the base movie's good, it's just the execution's bad. And I think that the movie as a season would have been 10 times better than what we got. And if, you know, we would have gotten all the stuff we wanted to see, Styles involved, Isaac returning, and I got a couple other surprises for y'all too that are planned. So yeah, stick around. But that's gonna do it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.